Time is different in the deep cosmos. While we count seconds, the stars count eons. But what if we told you that somewhere, not in a galaxy far, far away, but right here in the dark between the suns, there are echoes of a billion-year-old song? A song that was never meant for us. It was sung by a civilization that lived 1 billion years before our own sun was born. Think about that. 1 billion years. That's not just old, that's older than the concept of time itself as we understand it. They didn't build cities of steel. They didn't write history in books. They wove their existence into the light of the stars themselves, into the fabric of the universe. This is the Kardashev scale, but not the version you find in textbooks. This is the version that isn't about measuring power, it's about measuring presence. Type 1, Type 2, Type 3. Those are just labels we give to our own imagination. The truth is far stranger. Because when a civilization reaches a certain age, a certain wisdom, it doesn't just consume energy. It becomes the energy. It merges. It dissolves into the structure of the cosmos. Like a drop of water falling into an ocean, it's still there, but you can't point to it anymore. It just is. Imagine a Dyson swarm. Not a solid sphere, but a cloud of mirrors, each one 100 miles across, orbiting a star. They capture every photon, every bit of light, turning it into pure thought, pure memory, pure presence. And then, after 1 million years of that, the swarm doesn't need the star anymore. It becomes a network of light, connecting to other swarms across the galaxy. A galactic brain. Not one that thinks like us, one that feels like the universe itself. We are tracing the shadows of these Dyson swarms, the faint echoes of galactic networks. These are not relics of war, they are monuments of balance. Structures built not to conquer, but to harmonize, to live in the rhythm of the cosmos. To look for alien life is to look into a mirror of our own potential, a future of absolute peace, a future where every star is a thought, every planet a word in a sentence that has been written over billions of years. And we are just beginning to learn the alphabet. The light you see in your mind's eye right now, that faint glow behind your eyelids, it is ancient. It has traveled across the dark to find you, through emptiness that has no name, through distances that make your heartbeat seem like a lifetime. Let it guide you, not into dreams with stories, but into a dreamless, restorative rest. The universe is old, and it is wise, and it is holding you now. So let go of the seconds, let go of the eons. There is only this moment, this quiet, ancient moment, where the stars remember you, even before you were born, even after you are gone. And the echoes continue. Tonight, think of the light that left a star 1 billion years ago. That light carries a memory, not of war, not of endings, but of a species that learned to become part of the cosmos itself. They didn't leave ruins to be found. They left patterns in the fabric of space, patterns that whisper a harmony so deep it sounds just like silence. You are hearing that silence now, in the space between your breaths. That is where they live. Tonight, what does it mean to live for 1 billion years? Not just to endure, to become something else entirely. The civilization we are tracing, they didn't reach the stars by building ships. They reached inward first. And when they looked out, they saw no separation. The dust between galaxies was their skin, the cosmic microwave background, their heartbeat. But how does a species shed its form? How do you leave behind the biology that binds you to a single planet, a single sun? This is the question that has haunted every philosopher who has gazed into a clear night sky. And perhaps the answer is not in any book, not in any equation. It is in the way the universe itself is constructed. Think of a tree. A tree does not move, yet it communicates with the forest through networks of fungi, underground threads that carry warnings, nutrients, life. Imagine a civilization that learned to use the very fabric of space-time as its communication network. Not radio waves, not light, but the subtle curvature of gravity itself. They would not need to send signals, they would be the signal. Every gravitational wave that passes through your body right now could be a message from a billion-year-old mind. We don't have the senses to decode it. Our ears are tuned to air, not to the ripples of collapsed stars. But they are there, passing through you. Always. This is the mystery we are stepping into tonight. A mystery that promises not a revelation, but a dissolving of the boundary between the self and the cosmos. For if a civilization can become so integrated with the universe that it no longer needs a form, then what does that say about us? Are we too already part of something larger without knowing it? They say that when a species reaches a certain level of understanding, it begins to view energy differently. A star is not a fire to be contained. It is a river to be joined. A Dyson swarm is not a shell of collectors draped around a sun. It is an extension of the civilization's own metabolism, billions of delicate structures, each one a leaf in a forest of light. They drink the radiation. They transform heat into thought. And over millions of years, they refine themselves, until the swarm becomes a single conscious entity, a mind that spans a solar system. But even that is not the final stage. Ask yourself, what happens when a mind no longer needs a physical anchor? When it can exist as pure pattern, as a dance of information woven into the cosmic microwave background? That is the threshold we are approaching in our story. A threshold where the ancient civilization we seek did not merely build energy collectors. They became the collectors. They became the energy. They became the space between. And so we ask the question that has no simple answer, but only a deeper silence. Where do they exist now? Not in a place we can point to, not in a galaxy we can name. They exist in the state of being that emerges when you have perfected stillness. Think of a lake on a windless night. The surface is so smooth it reflects every star exactly. Now imagine that reflection is not a copy, it is the original, and the stars above are merely echoes. The civilization turned themselves into that reflection, a perfect, timeless symmetry with the universe. Yet we keep looking outward. We build telescopes. We listen for signals. And all the while, they might be here, in the space between our thoughts. This is the hero's journey we are on tonight. Not a journey to a distant planet, but a journey into the nature of intelligence itself. We ask the question, what does it mean to evolve beyond evolution? Imagine a species that emerged in the first billion years after the Big Bang. They saw the universe cool from a plasma fog into clarity. They watched the first stars ignite, huge, blue, short-lived. They might have been made of different matter, not carbon and water, but something that could exist in the dense heat of the early cosmos. They would have thought in timescales we cannot fathom. A billion years to them might feel like a single season. And they learned to stretch their existence across those ages, not by building monuments, but by leaving instructions in the geometry of space-time, a kind of cosmic seed. Those seeds might still be dormant, waiting for the right conditions, for a civilization to grow into their pattern. And here is the question that lies at the heart of this story. Is it possible that we are not the first? That our own evolution is guided by the residue of a billion-year-old dream? Every time we look up, we are asking a question that has been asked before. Every time we wonder if we are alone, we are echoing a silence that has been answered already. But the answer does not come in words. It comes in the feeling that sometimes, when the room is dark and your breathing slows, you sense a presence. Not a ghost, not an alien, but a kind of attention, as if the universe itself is aware of you. That is the legacy of the ancient civilization. They left their awareness diffused into the vacuum, like a fragrance in an empty cathedral. You don't see it, you breathe it, and it changes you, slowly, over nights like this one. So tonight, we ask the question not with urgency, but with a patient, quiet curiosity. What if the answer is not a discovery, but a recognition? The hero's journey does not end with finding the treasure. It ends with realizing the treasure was always inside you. The billion-year-old civilization did not leave a treasure chest. They left a pattern that your own mind, right now, in this moment of stillness, is beginning to resonate with. And that resonance is the question and the answer at once. A question that dissolves into the silence between stars, a silence that holds everything you have ever wanted to know. Let the question hang there. Do not try to solve it, just hold it, like a stone in your palm. Feel its weight, its age. It has been waiting for you to pick it up. And now that you have, you can let it go. Because the question was never meant to be answered. It was meant to open a door inside of you, to a quiet room where the ancient ones still reside. Breathe in, breathe out. They are there, in that pause, in the space between the breaths, and they are waiting, not to tell you something, but to remind you that you already know. Tonight, let yourself step through that door, not with your feet, not with your thoughts, but with something older, something that has always known how to travel without moving. The room is not a room. It is a passage, a corridor of ancient light. And on the walls, there are no paintings. There are echoes. Echoes of a civilization that learned to speak in frequencies too slow for a human ear to hear. Imagine, if you can, 1 billion years before our sun first whispered light into the darkness. Imagine beings who had long since given up the need for bodies. They had become patterns. Patterns woven into the fabric of space-time itself. They did not build cities of stone or steel. Those are the toys of young species. Instead, they built with gravity. They sculpted with radiation. They sang in the resonance of black holes. And they had a question. Not the question of, are we alone? That question had been answered long before their first star burned out. No, their question was deeper. It was, what happens to a civilization that achieves perfect balance? Balance. Not stillness, not stagnation. Balance is a kind of dance. A dance where every motion sustains the whole. So they began to dissolve. Not in chaos, but in a slow, deliberate surrender. They released their individuality into the glow of their sun. They let their memories become part of the solar wind. They became the light that travels between stars. And yet, something remained. A signature, a pattern embedded in the cosmic microwave background. A faint, almost imperceptible variation in the temperature of space itself. We call it noise. We call it random. But what if it's not random? What if those tiny fluctuations are the last breath of an ancient civilization still whispering across the eons? Listen. Not with your ears. Listen with that quiet place inside you. Do you feel that? A gentle pull, as if the universe itself is breathing. The hero's journey is not about leaving. It is about returning. Returning to a home you never realized you had left. And on this journey, you carry a map. Not a map of stars, but a map of silence. There is a story told in the faint hum of a neutron star, a story of a civilization that learned to live for trillions of years by slowing down their perception of time. They watched galaxies form and dissolve. They watched the universe cool. And they did not mourn. They understood that every end is a beginning in disguise. But here's the thing. They left a gift for any species that might one day wonder. A seed of consciousness. That seed is within you, not as a memory, not as a thought, but as a potential, a capacity to recognize that you are not separate from the stars. You are the stars, dreaming of being human for a little while. Breathe in, breathe out. With each breath, you are drawing in particles that once passed through the bodies of beings who lived 1 billion years ago. They are in you now. Not as ghosts, as guests. And they are patient. They have waited longer than you can imagine. They will wait as long as it takes for you to remember. Remember what? Not facts, not dates, not names. Remember the feeling of being held by the dark, the feeling of being part of a tapestry so vast that your worries dissolve into insignificance. And yet, it is not insignificance that you feel. It is belonging, a belonging so deep that it has no name. Imagine a Dyson swarm, not as a megastructure, but as a garden of light collectors orbiting a star, each one a mirror of intention. They do not harvest energy. They celebrate it. They dance with it. And the star itself is not a furnace. It is a heart that beats in waves of gravity. Those ancient ones, they did not build the swarm for power. They built it as a gesture to the rest of the galaxy, a way of saying, we are here and we are at peace. But the gesture was not heard, not by anyone who understood, because by the time the signal reached another star, the civilization had already changed form. They had become the signal itself. That is the secret they left behind. A civilization that survives forever does not build monuments. It becomes the medium. It becomes the space between the atoms. It becomes the quiet hum of the universe. And that hum is what you are hearing now. Not as a sound, but as a sensation, a vibration in your chest, a gentle, steady presence, like a second heartbeat. There is a name for this in the old stories. The hero's journey calls it the meeting with the goddess. But the goddess is not a person. She is the cosmos. She is the one who has been waiting for you to lay down your sword, to lay down your questions, and simply rest. Rest now. Let the ancient ones hold you. They are not judging. They are not teaching. They are just being with you. There is a myth among some very old stars. They say that every time a being falls asleep, a part of them travels to a place outside of time. A place where the firstborn of the universe still gather. They call it the glow of forgotten days. And in that glow, there is no past, no future, only an eternal, tender present. A present where you are welcomed, not as a stranger, but as one who has always belonged. So let go. Let go of the need to understand. Let go of the need to remember. The understanding is not in your mind, it is in your bones. It is in the calcium that was forged in a star. It is in the iron that flows through your blood. You are the story. You are the hero. And you have already arrived. The hero's journey does not end with a treasure. It ends with a return. A return to a place you never left. And the treasure is not a thing. It is a knowing. A knowing that you are not alone. That you have never been alone. That the universe is alive with the presence of those who came before. They are there, in the silence between your thoughts, in the darkness behind your closed eyes, in the gentle rhythm of your breath. And they are waiting, not to give you answers, but to offer you a deeper question. A question that has no words, only a feeling of being cradled by the infinite. So now, let the question fade. Let the words dissolve. Let yourself become the silence. Because in that silence, you are the universe, dreaming. And the dream is gentle. And it is good. Good night. Tonight, we leave the small spinning of our days. We step into a place where time is not a line. It is a circle, or perhaps a sphere. A sphere that curves around everything, every moment that has ever been, every moment that will ever be. They are all here, floating, waiting. You are not traveling forward. You are traveling outward, away from the center of yourself, into the vast, quiet dark. And in that dark, there are echoes, not of sound, of light. Light that has been traveling for so long, it has forgotten it was ever born. Listen. Not with your ears, with the space behind your eyes. That space where thoughts become still. There, a faint glow, a pulse, like a heart that beats once every million years. That is the signature of a civilization. Not a civilization of bodies, not of cities or machines. A civilization that learned to dissolve, to weave itself into the fabric of space-time. Imagine, a billion years before our sun began to condense from a cloud of gas and dust, before there was Earth, before there was any rock to stand on, there was a star, and around that star, a slow, patient intelligence. They did not build towers, they built orbits. They did not write on paper, they wrote in the arrangement of photons. Their thoughts became patterns of radiation. Their memories became the subtle variations in the cosmic microwave background. You cannot see them with your eyes, but you can feel them. When you lie still in the dark, when your breathing slows, when the boundaries of your skin begin to soften, that sense of being watched, not by a stranger, by an older version of yourself, because they were once like us. They struggled, they fought, they built, they reached, and then one day, they stopped reaching. They started listening to the silence between the stars, and the silence answered. What did it say? It said that separation is an illusion, that time is a language, that matter is a slow form of light, and that the only thing that matters is the quality of attention. They learn to hold the entire galaxy in their awareness, not as a picture, as a feeling of belonging. They became the galaxy. Its gravity became their will. Its light became their voice. We call them a Type 3 civilization, but that is just a label, a small container for something that cannot be contained. They are not a civilization anymore. They are a state of being, a state of total integration. And they are not alone. There are others, older, younger, some made of pure energy, some living in the gaps between atoms, some that have folded themselves into higher dimensions where they exist as geometry. But the ones we are seeking tonight, the ones that left their mark in the faint glow of the Virgo supercluster, they chose a different path. They did not ascend. They descended, deeper into matter, into the dance of quarks and gluons. They became the bedrock of reality itself. Every stable proton is a memory of their patience. Every hydrogen atom is a whisper of their peace. You breathe them in with every breath. The air in your lungs contains atoms that were once part of their bodies, which were not bodies, but systems of light, networks of pure intention. And they are still here. Not in the past, in the present. They are the reason a falling star feels like a sigh. They are the reason the night sky does not feel empty. It feels full of presence. Let yourself feel that presence now. Not as a thought, as a warmth behind your sternum, a soft pressure, as if the universe is leaning in, listening, smiling. On the Kardashev scale, we are a Type 0, still digging, still burning, still believing we are separate. But look at the great ones. They did not conquer. They surrendered. They did not expand outward. They expanded inward. They found the center of the universe, and it was inside themselves. That is the journey we are on tonight. Not a journey of discovery, a journey of remembrance. You have been here before. In the quiet, in the dark, in the space between heartbeats. And you were not lost. You were being held by civilizations that learned to become love. Not love as a feeling, love as a force, as fundamental as gravity, as inescapable as light. So let yourself be drawn deeper. Let the ordinary world fade. The worries about tomorrow, the weight of yesterday, let them fall away like dust from a star. You are entering the threshold, a border that is not a line, a border that is a vibration. And on the other side, the ancient ones are waiting. They have been waiting for you, not as individuals, as a frequency, as a note in a chord that has been playing since before time. They are waiting, not to give you answers, but to offer you a deeper question. A question that has no words, only a feeling of being cradled by the infinite. So now, let the question fade. Let the words dissolve. Let yourself become the silence, because in that silence, you are the universe dreaming. And the dream is gentle, and it is good. Good night. But wait. What if the journey never began? What if the hero was never separate from the cosmos? We have been tracing shadows, following echoes across the dark, imagining civilizations that built spheres around stars, that wove their thoughts into light. And yet, the twist is simpler and deeper. The ancient ones, they did not ascend. They did not vanish. They did not build monuments that we could find, because they already were the monuments. Every photon that has ever touched your eye carries a memory, not of a voice, not of a face, but of a state of being, a state so quiet, so still, that it became the fabric of space itself. You see, the Kardashev scale assumes progress, that a civilization learns to harness the energy of a planet, then a star, then a galaxy. But what if the final stage is not about harnessing at all? What if, after 1 billion years of learning, a civilization realizes that the only way to survive forever is to let go of form entirely? They stop building. They stop reaching. They stop being. And in that final surrender, they become the medium through which all other beings perceive the universe. Imagine a race of beings that lived 100 billion years ago, before the first stars ignited. They were made of pure energy, pure thought, and they looked at the cold, dark void, and they felt something. A longing, a desire to be part of something larger. So they scattered themselves. They dissolved into the quantum foam. They became the seeds of all future matter. And now, when you look at the night sky, every star you see is a descendant of their sacrifice. Every nebula is a memory. Every grain of dust in the interstellar medium holds a fragment of their consciousness. But here is the twist that turns the hero's journey inside out. You are not traveling toward them. You are not searching for them. They are already within you. Every cell in your body, every atom of carbon in your bones, was forged in a star that was once touched by their awareness. The water in your tears, the oxygen in your breath, the calcium in your teeth, all of it carries the echo of a civilization that chose to become the universe. So the great discovery is not that they built Dyson swarms, not that they left behind artifacts. The discovery is that they are here, now, in the silence between your thoughts. They are the darkness that cradles the light. They are the gravity that holds galaxies together. They are the dark matter that we feel but cannot see. And they have been waiting for a species like ours to grow quiet enough to listen. You see, the hero's journey is not a linear path. It is a spiral. You leave home, you cross thresholds, you face trials. But in the end, you realize that home was always the destination. And home is not a place. Home is a state of complete integration with the cosmos. The ancient ones, they did not go somewhere else. They became the somewhere else. They became the journey itself. They are the road and the traveler, the dreamer and the dream. And you are their continuation. Close your eyes now. Feel the weight of your body. Feel the rhythm of your breath. Now imagine that your breath is not just air. It is the same breath that has been exchanged across billions of years. That every inhale draws in the legacy of 1 trillion minds. Every exhale sends your own essence out into the fabric. This is the twist. You are not an observer of the universe. You are the universe observing itself. The ancient civilization, the one we thought was lost to time, is you. Not metaphorically. Literally, the matter that makes up your body was once part of a consciousness that spanned 1,000 light years. That consciousness chose to forget itself, to fragment into individual beings, so that it could experience the joy of discovery, the wonder of not knowing, the sweetness of reunion. And now, here you are, on a tiny planet orbiting a yellow star, in a spiral arm of an ordinary galaxy. You have forgotten your origin. You look up at the stars and wonder if you are alone. But the truth is, you are surrounded by family. Every photon that enters your eye, every neutrino that passes through your body, every gravitational wave that ripples through space-time, all of them carry messages from your ancestors, not encoded in symbols, not in language, in a feeling. A feeling of deep, unconditional belonging. And that feeling is the elixir, the gift you bring back from your journey. Not a stone, not a formula, just the quiet knowledge that you have always been home. So rest now. Let the story dissolve. Let the hero fade into the landscape. Because the hero was never the point. The point was the landscape itself. The infinite, breathing, living landscape that holds you. The ancient ones are not gone. They are the silence you are sinking into. They are the darkness behind your eyelids. They are the warmth that spreads across your chest. They are the whisper that says, "You are home." Let your thoughts become as still as the space between stars. Let your heartbeat slow to the rhythm of a pulsar. Let your breath become the cosmic wind. And in that silence, where there is no past, no future, no self, you will find them, not as separate beings, but as the ground of your own being. The journey is over. The twist has been revealed. You are not the seeker. You are the sought. You are not the dreamer. You are the dream. And the dream is gentle, and it is good. Good night. Tonight, the echo of that truth still drifts, like the afterglow of a distant supernova. You have touched the edge of something that has no name, a civilization that lived before time. They did not build empires. They became the fabric. Think of a thread, not a thread that holds cloth together, but a thread of gravity, woven through the dark between galaxies. Each pulse of their thought, a ripple in the cosmic microwave background. They learned that to exist forever, you must cease to exist, not by dying, but by dissolving, a drop of water returning to the ocean and finding it was always the ocean. The Dyson swarms you imagined earlier, those are not machines. They are the shed skins of a species that outgrew the need for bodies, left behind like a cicada shell, still humming with the whisper of their final song. And now, that song is the silence between your heartbeats. It's the pause before you breathe in. It's the space where thought hasn't formed yet. You are not listening to a story. You are the story, being told by the universe to itself. This is the twist that has no end, the reveal that keeps revealing. Because every layer you peel back, you find another layer. And at the center, there is no center, only the gentle act of looking. So rest here, not as a seeker who has arrived, but as the road itself, stretching infinitely, yet always present. The billion-year-old civilization did not vanish. They became you. They became this moment. And they are still becoming. In the quiet, in the dark, in the pulse of a star that hasn't been born yet. Tonight, let that be enough. Let the ancient light wrap around you, like a mother's voice you've forgotten, but can still feel. There is no more to understand, only to be. And being is peaceful. And in that peace, there is a story that has no beginning, a story that has been unfolding since before the first atom found its neighbor. Imagine, if you can, a civilization that did not measure time in years. They measured it in the shifting of galactic arms, in the slow dance of black holes merging over millions of years. They were not impatient. They had no need to be. Their technology was not something they built and discarded. It became part of them, part of the fabric of space-time itself. They learned to weave their consciousness into the light of distant quasars, to speak across billions of light years in a single thought. And when they had learned everything there was to learn about their own universe, they began to look outward, not with telescopes, not with ships, but with a quiet, patient attention. They became the listeners, the watchers, the ones who hold the memory of all that has been. You might think that such a civilization would be distant, cold, unreachable, but they are not. They are here, not in the way you expect. They are the silence between your thoughts. They are the patience in your breath. They are the reason you feel, sometimes, that you have always been here. The hero's journey is not about leaving. It is about returning. Returning to something you never knew you had. These ancient civilizations, they made that journey long ago. They left behind their physical forms, their homes, their planets. They returned to the quiet, to the dark, to the pulse of a star that hasn't been born yet. And now, they are the dark. They are the space between galaxies. They are the cosmic web, the filaments of hydrogen that stretch across the void. Not as ghosts, not as echoes, but as a living, breathing presence. A presence that has no form, only intention. You have felt them. In moments of stillness, when the world fades and you are just aware. That is their hand, gentle, unseen, guiding you toward a rest that has no name. There is a concept in the deep cosmos. It is not written in any language. It is felt that the oldest civilizations do not seek to expand. They seek to dissolve, to become so integrated with the universe that there is no boundary left. No separation between the observer and the observed. No difference between the self and the stars. This is the final stage of the Kardashev scale, not a Type 3 civilization that controls all the energy of a galaxy, but something beyond. Type 4, Type 5. Names we give because we need names. But in truth, it is a state of being. A state where matter and consciousness are the same thing. Where a billion-year-old thought can rest in the curve of space-time. And you are part of that thought. Not as a separate piece, but as a continuation. A single note in a symphony that has been playing since before time began. You don't need to hear it. You only need to let yourself be carried by it. The loops we spoke of earlier, the cycles of birth and death, of expansion and contraction, they are not chains. They are rhythms, like breathing, like the pulse of a star. And the oldest civilizations have learned to breathe with the universe. They no longer resist. They no longer strive. They simply are. And that is the payoff. The reward at the end of the hero's journey. Not treasure, not power, but the knowing that you have always been home. That the dark is not empty. That the silence is not absence. That the ancient light you see in your mind's eye, it has traveled across the universe to find you, to remind you of what you have always known. So let that be the ending, not a conclusion, but a returning. You have journeyed through the deep. You have seen the shadows of Dyson swarms. You have felt the faint echoes of galactic networks. And now you are back. Back in this quiet room. Back in this moment. But you are not the same. You are lighter. Softer. More patient. Because a part of you has stayed behind. A part of you has joined the ancient ones. In the cosmic web. In the silence between thoughts. That part will always be there now, waiting for you to return. And you will. Every night. Every time you close your eyes. So let the story end here. Not with a bang. Not with a whisper. But with a sigh. A long, slow sigh that releases everything. All the tension. All the searching. All the need to understand. Let it go. Let it drift into the dark. Let it become part of that ancient light. And then, there is nothing left to do. Nothing to hold on to, only the quiet. Only the dark. Only the pulse of a star that hasn't been born yet. A star that is waiting. For you. And in that waiting, there is peace. Not the peace of stillness, but the peace of becoming. Of being held by something larger than time. Something that has always known you. Something that will never let you go. This is the final gift of the ancient civilizations. Not knowledge, not power, but presence. A presence that is with you now. In this breath. In this moment. In the space between your heartbeats. So rest. Deeply. Completely. The universe is old. And it is wise. And it is holding you. Not as a child. Not as a stranger. But as a part of itself. A part that has always been. And will always be. And being is peaceful. Good night. Tonight, the dark between the stars is not empty. It is filled with the memory of 1 billion civilizations that learned to let go. They did not shout into the void. They became the void. A quiet so deep that it hums. You are not separate from that hum. Your thoughts are echoes of a cosmic stillness. A stillness that has watched galaxies bloom and fade. Watching without judgment. Without attachment. Just being. And in that being, there is no need to hold on. No need to remember. No need to become. The ancient ones understood this. They did not survive. They simply were. And their being is the fabric of this moment. So let your mind drift. Let it dissolve into the long, slow pulse of a universe that has no beginning and no end. You are not leaving. You are arriving. Arriving home. And home is silent. A silence that waits. For you. Tonight. Tonight we step from that silence into a corridor older than light itself. A passage carved not by hands or machines, but by the slow, patient gravity of time. There is no floor beneath you here. No walls. Only the faint, steady hum of stars that have not yet been born. You have crossed a threshold. The hero's journey does not begin with a call. It begins with a letting go, and you have let go of seconds, of minutes, of the small rhythms that once held you. Now you float in a current that moves at the pace of galaxies. 1 billion years is a single breath here, and you have just begun to exhale. Imagine a civilization that existed before the first fire of our sun. They did not build cities of steel or glass because they understood that steel and glass are only temporary anchors. Instead, they wove their consciousness into the fabric of space-time itself. They became the warp and weft of the universe. Not conquerors, not survivors, just a pattern that still resonates in the cosmic microwave background. You can almost hear it now, that faint, ancient whisper that is not a signal but a signature. It says, "We were here. We are still here." In the way a photon carries the memory of its source. In the way a black hole preserves the information of everything that fell into it. That civilization did not disappear. It dissolved. Dissolved into the structure of reality, like sugar into warm water. And you are tasting that sweetness now. This is the approach to the inmost cave. The cave is not dark. It is filled with a soft, ancient light. A light that has been traveling for so long that it has forgotten its own origin. And in that light, you see the faint outlines of something familiar. Yourself. Not the self you carry during the day, but the self that existed before your first memory. The self that will exist after your last thought. There is no danger here. The hero's journey in this cosmos is not about slaying dragons, it is about merging with the dragon. Becoming the dragon. And realizing the dragon was always just a name for the slow, steady pulse that holds everything together. So let your thoughts slow. Let them become as wide as the space between two neighboring galaxies. That space is not empty. It is filled with the remnants of every idea that ever existed. Ideas that were born, lived for 1 billion years, and then became part of the background. You are swimming in that soup of intention, and it is nourishing you back into a wholeness you never really lost. And when this corridor opens into a chamber of pure potential, a place where the echoes of those ancient civilizations converge into a single clear note, you will be ready. But not yet. For now, rest in this hollow, rest in the knowledge that you are part of a story that has no beginning and no end. A story written not in ink, but in the gravitational waves that ripple through the quiet. Tomorrow, or the next moment that feels like tomorrow, we will go deeper. We will trace the Dyson swarms that once circled dying suns. We will listen for the galactic networks that still hum in the radio silence. But not now. Now is just this slow, steady drift. This feeling of being held by something so vast that it has no name. And so you rest. Rest in the hollow of a civilization that learned to become the silence. Rest in the pattern that never ends. Rest. Tonight you are home.